Hello and welcome to Learning Music with Pat. I just want to review this chart a little bit, and then I want to get into some music and show you some things about actual music itself. But just as a review, because we've been dealing with this the last 2 or 3 sessions, this is a scale. I know this is breaking here, but I use manila folders to do it. But this is the middle C right here, with the line right in the middle, the ledger line in the middle. This is all treble clef. This is all bass clef. And if you see music and there's a line connecting the two, which oftentimes there is, it means that they're played together. But I just did this to show you. Now the recorders are going to be able to play from here, this low C, middle C, up to the high C. And the flutes can do more than that. The flutes can go up to this high C, and then there's another octave beyond that. But most of the melody flutes are in this range. And if I look here, that's going to be from this range to this range. There's 2 octaves, 1 octave, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and then another octave, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And when I show you a keyboard, oftentimes I'm just showing you this section or possibly another section where there's another octave added. But remember, when I show you something like that, there's lots of other notes to the right and there's lots of other notes to the left. That's going to be bass clef, that's going to be treble clef. This is the middle, and the high C is going to be right here on the keyboard, right here on the section of the keyboard that I pull out oftentimes. Just to kind of review with you, the section that woodwinds play is in this area here. The tonettes, the flutophones, the song flutes, the melodicas, the ocarinas, penny whistles, sasutos, and recorders. Regular flutes go up an octave higher, and the piano goes up an octave higher than that, but it's so high that they can't write music for it. So they use that 8 VA sign, and that means play this here an octave higher. Well, there are 5 ledger lines on this high C, that's C above high C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you would have to have, for another octave, another set of 5 ledger lines. You would have like 10 ledger lines. See how difficult it would be to play that, to even read it. So therefore, that's what they do. So I'm showing you the ranges, and I just wanted to make clear, kind of review that for you. And then the scales that the recorders can play: C, D, G, and F. Now, I've done more than that on recorders, but these are the easier ones to play. Occasionally, I'll throw in a B-flat scale, a B-flat where you have 2 flats, but it's kind of hard to do it, and it doesn't go much beyond that. C has no sharps and flats. Recorders are in the key of C, the Descant recorders, which are the melody recorders that I usually have with me. D is 2 sharps, and that's not too hard for recorders to do. Remember, when you have something sharped, it's sharped for the whole measure, or it's flatted for the whole measure. I'm just showing this as a scale. So here's a C sharp, here's a C sharp, this is the F sharp and the F sharp. The key of G has 1 sharp, and up and down, those are the sharps. Now, since it's the F sharp, this would be sharp too, and this would be sharp. The F on the lower level would be sharp. The C sharp would be, we couldn't get it on a recorder, it would be too high. But the C sharp on the lower level you could get. I didn't write those in, but all of the octaves are included. And then the key of G, 1 sharp, the key of F, 1 flat. And that's what we can play. Now, what I wanted to do now is I wanted to show you, whoops, I'm going to take some of this down. I've already gone over it, so I'll take this down. It'll be in my way if I don't. I'm going to show you different time signatures. I have a song here which I wrote. It's a waltz. And I don't know how clearly that can come in, but it's 3/4 time. Waltz is 3/4 time. So this is 3 beats, and it's in the key of G, which means you have that F sharp. 3/4 means that you have 3 beats to the measure, and a quarter note is the main, it gets 1 beat. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. There's a tie right there. You hold that note to include that note. You don't tongue it. You tongue this note, but you don't tongue that note because it's tied on. So you're really going to hold that note for 6 beats, not 4 beats, although it's written like it's 4 beats, and actually it is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's 3 beats, I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3. This is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But since I put a tie on it, you just hold that over as if it was attached to this. And now 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You're playing that note like 6 beats. Because of the fact that it's 2 measures and one is tied to the other. So you don't tongue this, you hold it over. But it is a separate measure, you're just holding on to it and not tonguing it. Then you tongue this again. Well, it's a little waltz, and then what would happen if I wanted it in 4 beats instead of 3 beats? Well, let me play it in 3 beats first. This is just a little waltz. And I'll play it in 3 beats the way that it is. And if you can kind of watch and see if you can follow along with the notes as I play. So that's the whole thing. If you look at it closely, I put a repeat sign and a first and second ending on it. When I got down here, it says 1. It may not come in too clear, but I guess it's clear enough for you to see it. This little bracket, that's the first ending. I got down here and I played this, and this is a part of it. And then I go back, since it's a repeat, I go back to the beginning measure. Now, there's no repeat sign here, but there's also no other place that you can. Or you could do it right there too. So, okay, so let's see. Let me go through this again. You play this, you play this, you play this. Here's the first ending. Now, I could have gone back to this. I actually went back to the beginning. I play this, and this, and this, and then you play the second ending. You don't play the first ending twice. So what if I wanted to change it and not have it in the key of 3/4? Supposing I want it in the key of 4/4, that changes the whole nature of it, but the basic notes are the same. It'll be 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4. It changes the kind of the nature of the song, but it's got the same kind of notes in it. So therefore there will be a similarity to it. So instead of playing it like in waltz tempo, I'm going to play it in 4/4 time. And then we can just see what that would sound like if you should want to change it. This is 4/4 time. Now, what I did the first time. I could have gone back on that and just gone back here and played it from here to here. I chose to go back to the beginning. Sometimes if you don't have a repeat sign, you go back to the beginning because there's no other place to go. If you have a repeat sign, you usually go back to where the repeat sign is. But because this is such a short piece, I just decided to do the whole thing again. Now, the next thing I want to check with you is doing songs, and let's see, I'll have, every time I do music, I have to get 2 copies, one for you to see and one for me to see. This is a little different. It's still, though, in the key of, it's still in 3/4 time. and the quarter note gets one beat. But what I've done is I'm doing thirds likely, or fourths, all quarter notes and whole notes, because I want you to get the practice of jumping from one note to the other. So here we go to G to E to G, A to E to A, B. Notice the lower note stays the same for a few measures. B to E to B, A. Then this is still an E, and then it switches later on to an F because I change it a little bit. I'm going to play this, and I'm not going to play it very fast. And then I just want you to watch and see, you can see, because I'm going to be jumping between one note and the other. The important thing to remember when you're holding an instrument, you've got to hold it with your fingers all ready to jump from one note to another. You can't flatten them. It has to be, you have to do it, one note to the other and jump from one note to the other. So I'm going to, and to do that, you have to have the hands in the right position. I've seen students try to play with their hands flat. You're never going to make your notes in time if you do that. So I won't do this very fast. I want you to concentrate on the notes. See the fact that I'm jumping between note to note, and kind of follow it like that. That's the whole song, and there are no repeat signs in it. Let me play it again, and I may increase the speed a little bit. Really this sounds best when it's played fast, but as an exercise, it's good for you to jump between notes and notes and notes and just get practice doing that. I usually put a little retard on the end that slows it down so that it would be, and I would usually gradually, and that shows as you're slowing it down that that's the end of the song. The other thing that shows you that it's the end of the song is that you have these two solid lines. And that usually tells you, so that's the end of the song. So these notes jump. I keep the lower notes the same for the most part. Then I switch it because I'm switching up. This is the G, and this is the A above that. So I switch it's the same interval between notes, but the notes are a little different. So it stays on F for a while, the bottom note. And then it goes back to the E again. And then when you get to here, you've got, you have accidentals. And this is a B flat, A, G sharp, A. And so the way that you would play that is, here's your B flat. Let me play from this D just to this B. And what I've done is I've changed that B to a B flat. It's a B flat here, and it's a B flat here. Now I have to write this as a B flat as well, because a B flat, or any flat, any accidental just goes for the full measure. If I had that B flat over here, it would be for the entire measure. That's the only B I have, and I wanted it flatted, but that's not going to extend to the next measure. The next measure, I have to flat it again. Any accidental is only for one measure, and if you want it in following measures, then you just have to add that sign again. So it is a D, C, B flat, and then B flat, A, G sharp. How do you play the G sharp? Well, the G, if you play it like I've shown, to play the G sharp, you can do it two ways. You can do a half hole on that G, and that automatically sharpens it. Or you can go from that A, instead of leave that G out and play the next two the next two notes. This is probably preferable if you're in a hurry and you're playing a lot of fast music. You might want to substitute and do this G sharp. So here's the B. I put my finger down, that flats it, and then I want the A, so that goes up, and I do play the regular A fingering, and then I can use a half hole here to get that G sharp and back to the A. Or and it's good if you are playing something like that to take those two measures and just practice the two measures by themselves and do it slowly. Because otherwise you may be fumbling around trying to get the accidentals right. Once you get it right, you're all set. By the time you get to this B, it's back to being a B natural again. It's just the flatted for those two. Now, if I had another B, it would automatically be flatted if I'd written another one, but I didn't. So this is the only one that's flatted, but if there was another B, it would be flatted as well, because it goes all the way through the whole measure, and then you start again. So I don't know, you should start practicing slow. Now right here I go from that E to the F, and that changes from a G to an A, which is slightly higher. And then I go back to the E again, right here. That was interesting, that E down here. How do you get that E? A, G, A, B, E. Now you're going to half hole the E because it's going to be in the higher register, and you get the higher notes by half holing it. If you don't half hole, you're going to get a low E instead. So this E is right here. At the half hole, I pulled my thumb down and back about halfway so that the hole is not completely covered. It's not completely uncovered either, because if it was uncovered completely, you'd have a different note. You wouldn't have the E. So I just half hole that E. I make that thumb go down, and that leaves some space available. That D right here, I'm playing with just this one finger. I don't have the hole covered in back at all. So I can get that D just with that one finger. If I want the E, I have to go back to the full E and half hole the back of it again. So I can go from this D C, D, and that's how I get it. Now, or if I use the flute fingering, which there's no reason to do that here, but I could if I wanted to. There's a flute fingering D. Now, depending upon what I'm playing, if I'm playing a difficult piece and there's a lot of scale work, I may well choose to use another alternate fingering for that E or that D instead of this finger, which is a balance problem. I mean, you've got to have a good balance in order to play that and not drop it. There's no strap on these instruments in order to hold them in place should you drop it. And it is easy to drop them, but if I do the D the way that the flute does it, then there's no chance of dropping it because I'm using the flute fingering. And the tone isn't that different. It's more accurate if you use a tone that's made for the recorder. But depending upon what I'm playing, how fast it goes, how difficult it goes, I may well use an alternate fingering. But, you know, I know some people would probably have my head for doing that. But it does work. If it works, it's okay. If it doesn't pitch well, not all instruments can do it. If it doesn't pitch well, then you need to stick with the original fingering. Well, how fast can you get this to go? I'm going to try it fairly fast. And just so you'll hear what it would sound like, should you decide to play this fast. Now, I did leave that E out, and I substituted another note, because at the speed I was going, it was going to be hard to get it. I did get it, but it would be a little harder to do. And also, you usually take a retard toward the end, so you would slow it down a little bit anyway. Now, you see the importance of being able to tongue. You can't play notes really and have a good tone or anything if you can't tongue them. Sometimes they have to be slurred. Sometimes they have to be held. That's the way the music is written, and there's a purpose in that, and it sounds all right. But if you're going to play something like this and you can't tongue, now see how horrible that sounds. If you tongue it, you get a good crisp note either time. And of course, at the same time, you're going to have to be counting. You're going to have to be counting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And if I was conducting it, supposing this was an orchestral piece and I was conducting it, I probably would only conduct the first beat of each measure. The pattern for conducting on a 3/3 time is like this. It's a little bit like a triangle with a flourish or two, but no one's going to be doing this. So if it's fast, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 through 3. That first beat of a note is called the downbeat. The first beat of a measure is called the downbeat, especially when you get into marches. And a lot of times a conductor will conduct just the first beat of each measure, because the march may be in 2/2 time. You know, it may be fast and it may be quick. And so instead of having all your arms go everywhere, just beat the first beat of each measure. In a slower piece, you'd be more relaxed about it. You'd be slower about it, and you'd use the full beat pattern. So I do like this piece. I think it's a good practice piece to learn how to jump from one note to another note, how to count your notes, how to tongue your notes. There's a lot to be said about playing pieces that are a little bit simpler, but they also can be very nice pieces because they can act as a good teaching tool for you. So I'm not going to have time to start anything else, so I'm going to have to close it here, and we'll do more next time. Please join me then.